We'll let everybody in the room as well, and we'll get the PowerPoint clicker for you. We'll let everybody in the room as well, and I'll mute myself. Okay. So. Would you like captioning on for, so you'll be able to see it there, yeah? Testing, 1, 2, 3. It'll be on the bottom, right? Hope that's okay. Always a little larger for our folks.
Like me.
And I could also move it at the top, yeah, on the side there. Okay, Jada, you are live on LinkedIn. You've got some folks, and you also have some odd. You've got about 5 participants on Zoom. We are live. Take it away.
Thank you, Robbie. And wow, LinkedIn, we graduated. So thank you for joining us again, and those of you for the first time here in person at HCC Missouri City location, as well as online. This is our opportunity to connect with the community through SCORE, the City of Houston, as well as HCC and the resources that we have available to you. Our objective is to help you understand contracts with the City of Houston, how to become a vendor, how to manage those contracts, and then the other obstacles that come in the way of managing your contracts, like supply management or supply chain management, which is our topic this month. Every month we have a different topic that is associated with contracts. So this is an open forum for you to ask all the burning questions that you have about contracts, the City of Houston, HCC resources, live and in person, as well as online. So please feel free to do so. I do have a slideshow presentation, but it's only to guide us through our meeting today, but please feel free to ask as many questions as you like. So again, my name is Jada Harris. I am a certified mentor with the with SCORE Houston, the largest chapter in the United States. We are a national organization that allows entrepreneurs to meet directly with a mentor in a subject matter or about business in general, from inception all the way to close out. So everything that you need in between. So if you need to speak to an attorney, a CPA, a marketing specialist, we have those individuals at least within our chapter, as well as nationally. You can reach out to us on our houston.score.org website, where you'll find all the resources that you need or that SCORE has to offer. Again, we're joined with Dr. Portia Jackson of the City of Houston, and I'll let her go ahead and finish introducing herself.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. As Jada said, I'm Dr. Portia Jackson with the City of Houston's Office of Business Opportunity. Our office is located downtown, catty-cornered from the Reflection Pond at City Hall, so at 611 Walker. We do take visitors to come in. Really inform you about our office. We do four major facets. That's one, we have our OBO Solutions Center. So if you have any questions regarding guidance on permitting, connecting to different resources, we're able to do that. We are also the certifying agency for the City of Houston, meaning that we certify in the various areas of minority, woman-owned, small business, and about 6, maybe 3 or 4 others, as well as the hub certification. We also have a contracts compliance division that follows up on all the contracts that our certified firms are performing on under those goals. And then we also have business development. So the business development programming that ranges from folks who just have an idea or been in business for less than a year with our annual Liftoff Houston Business Plan competition, all the way up to those folks who have a significant amount of income been in business for quite some time, who have employees and they're looking to take their business to the next level. And so that's our range of helping. And again, we are basically considered the small business advocate for the city of Houston. So anything that marginalized, historically marginalized folks or individuals, because we do have a workforce development arm too, definitely our office handles. And we do a lot of outreach and we do a lot of partnerships, not only with SCORE, but with HCC and other government agencies. So we're able to connect you to those resources so that you have success within your business.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. So we also have Ravi, who is the director of the Center for Entrepreneurship here at the HCC at multiple locations. So I'll go ahead and let him introduce himself and speak about the resources available here at HCC.
Awesome. So hi, everybody. I switched the camera to me in the audience here. We really do value the partnership we have with OBO and SCORE for providing these monthly forums for helping our local community and business leaders learn about how they can grow their start and grow their ventures. The college has lots to offer. So I just want you to know we are a pretty large institution, 70 buildings across Houston. It operates, spends about $1 million a day. Its budget is about 360 plus million. We have students that you could take on as interns, apprentices. We have 3 Center for Entrepreneurships across the city of Houston, including this one in Missouri City. My office oversees West Loop, Stafford, Missouri City, and Rays Oaks campuses. So anything in the Southwest region, we're working. We do everything from helping students learn about entrepreneurship to helping our businesses gain access to the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program, to the MBVA, the Minority Business Development Agency contracting with contractors, prime contractors, I should say. So lots of services we offer. You should see us as your cheerleaders. Anything business, we want to come and cheer you on, because we do want to help start and grow businesses in our Southwest region. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity. Excited to be here.
Thank you, Ravi.
Yes.
Okay, so I was trying to do that while we were talking, but it's not doing the thing. So again, today's topic is supply chain. And so I'm a teacher by nature, so I'm going to go ahead and get the conversation started. What is some of your understanding of supply chain? It could be, as it relates to your business or in general, what you've heard in the news today. Anyone willing to?
This supply chain affects us all, no matter what business we're in, especially product based.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And we learned that the hard way through COVID recently, right? It caused the bottleneck. COVID caused a bottleneck in our supply chain management systems, which for entrepreneurs is a great opportunity to come up and find solutions for supply chain. But for existing entrepreneurs and that have products that cause the extreme amount of problems, Dr. Jackson, has there been any experience in the city of Houston as it relates to contracts and supply chain or COVID?
Of course it affected, but mainly when we talk about supply chain, it's going to affect the different contracts. And so when we have contracts out, whoever holds that contract, you're the one that's mainly affected because you're the one that's supplying the products to us. And so, but yeah, I like the screen you have now. Really define what supply chain is so that everybody's on one page of what we're talking
Yeah, absolutely. So the management of the flow of goods and services, because a lot of times when you think of supply chain, you just think of goods, but as well as services, and includes all processes that transform raw materials into final products. And I keep getting this image of, especially in China, where they had freight just sitting at the docks. because of lack of employees. The systems to put new products as it related to COVID, as well as existing products into a supply chain management system. There were so many different issues that came up as it relates to COVID. It is getting better, but it's slow. And so, like I said, it welcomes the opportunity for new entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs to come up with solutions as it relates to supply chain management. Me and this clicker every single time. Okay, there we go. So, okay, thank you so much. So supply chain management, here's a visual for you to understand, especially nowadays, we're global. There used to be a discussion as it related to getting products and services from one side of the country to the other, right? That was what, 1960s, 1960s, we're starting to talk about global and international business, but now you absolutely, no matter what type of business you have to think global. One of the terms that we came up with, or acronyms that we came up with just at the end of last year, Dr. Jackson, was B to G. Was it B to global or B to, but so, and when we think about our customers, we think about B2C, B2B, and B2G, which is business to government. But now we have to think business to global, business to international. That it has to be, because even if you're not at that point yet, you as a business has a goal to distribute beyond the United States. Even if you don't have that desire, if you want to sell your business, that may be an opportunity for the next person to purchase it to expand your business. Does that kind of resonate with you? So it's some thinking that we have to have, but yeah, thinking globally. But what's included in the supply chain management, manufacturing, raw materials, distribution, retail locations, which is starting point, and then our all-in customer. Do we have any questions so far? Okay, so as it relates to contracts, when you apply for a contract, whether it's with the City of Houston or any contract agency, the ability to provide the product and or service is instrumental, but it's second thought, if not third thought, when applying for the contract. So in this discussion today, I want to kind of press upon the importance of including it when you apply for the contract. How can you get that to your end customer, who is the City of Houston in this instance? If you do not provide that product and or service, you are in violation of the contract, and it will put you upside down. This is where I cringe at as a contract manager, that I get concerned about for my clients and for people who that are anticipating, applying for a contract, is the thinking of the deliverables. So is there anything you want to add to that, Dr. Jackson? Not yet. Not yet? Okay. All right. So Dr. Jackson mentioned earlier that we have the certification process, which is generally pre-bid. Then we have the bidding process where we actually bid on the contract. And then, of course, we have the management of the contract once you are awarded. So I'm asking that we think about it in the pre-bid, when we're, getting ready to get certified. I keep giving this example of the baker that was providing, I think it was to Department of Corrections. And so she signed a contract to supply so many cookies, and she could not fulfill the contract. And so the agency did work with her, meaning that they gave her more time to provide the products and service, because they're on contracts, you do have a time constraint, meaning that all deliverables have to be either on a consistent basis or by the end of the contract. So those are some of the things that we have to think of even at the certification stage, the pre-bidding stage. When we're actually in the bidding stage, you're thinking at this point about your competitors. What can they do better than I can, as far as delivering the product as it relates to today's discussion? So how can you do better as far as providing? If it's an existing, say for instance, and we've talked about this in the past, it's a contract that's being renewed. That means somebody had it before you and either the contract terms have ended. And so because it's a government agency, they are obligated to re-advertise that contract. And so they are putting it out so other people can bid on it. Or that contractor wasn't able to satisfy the contract and therefore they're looking for another contract. So this is your opportunity in the pre-bidding phase to find out who your competitors are and how you can do better than they did. Even if they did an excellent job, they satisfied the contract, they actually did it before time was over and they did it under budget. How can you beat them out? And this, it's easy if someone, passed the time limit, they over budgeted, they were disgruntled, with the issues. It's easy, we can fix that, right? But how can you do better? Any questions so far? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to know on the pre-bid qualification or certification, when does that kick in? Does that have to be, is it just before tender occurs, or can that just be done randomly? So that as a company, if you've been evaluated, you will know where the areas maybe of lack or gaps that you need to fill, additional stuff that you need to acquire to make you qualified.
So as far as the certifications or okay, so yes, that is completely up to you as if you're ready because, and I've said this 1,000 times, this is a totally different ball field. If you've been in business doing business to client, business to business, and you're successful, this is something else that you're adding to your revenue stream, and it takes concentration. It's not something where you can pick up and do tomorrow. It is something like you're indicating that it takes a process of time to adopt this into your business structure. So if you're ready, indications of that is that you have, and I keep repeating, talking about this every meeting, you have all your documents together, you have your financials together, you have your everything that is required in order to apply for the certifications and then the bidding process. So I hope I answered your question.
So it's not linked to a particular tender that's coming out, just being done separate.
Absolutely.
Bidding process.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, and Dr. Jackson can contribute to this, but you do not have to be certified to apply for a contract or to submit for a contract, but it helps you.
Right. And so let me just kind of back up some. So when she said the pre-bidding phase, she just is using that term, meaning before you even bid, right? It's not, it's right. It's just before you bid, this is the pre-bidding phase. And so what she's saying is that when you get ready to pursue government procurement, you have some options. You don't have to be certified to pursue government procurement. But if you do want to come in as certified, then you want to go ahead and take care of that certification. What happens sometimes is that folks will wait until maybe Jada has a contract or she's going out to bid for a contract for the city. And so when she's going to submit her bid to the city, she has to provide who she's going to subcontract that work out to. And so if she's going to subcontract that work out to me, then she's expecting me to be able to come in on a goal. So she's saying, this contract I have has a 10% goal. You're a subcontractor. It has an MBE goal on it. So I'm a minority woman-owned business. She's going to subcontract that out to me. But if I have not been certified by the city as a MWBE, then if she selects me, she's not going to get the contract, right? Because I'm not certified by the city as being that. So that's what we're talking about. The phase is before you even consider it, before you go after the bid, make sure that you get certified if you're going to come in as a subcontractor. And a lot of times when you're talking about city contracts or government contracts, period, these coming in as a subcontractor is typically the logical phase to come in, unless you're already a large business that has full capacity to take on large contracts. Because when you see the contracts, the majority of them are going to be large. There are some that are small. I saw some today, they were asking for a projector. It was like 2 or 3 projectors. Of course, that's a small contract, but for the majority of them, you're going to have larger contracts. And so those larger contracts are going to have those goals. So when you pursue government procurement, it's not about just today you wake up and say, I'm going after a $2 million contract and I've never had a contract before. It's a process. So when she talks about that pre-bidding phase, that's getting your business ready, right? Making sure you have the certifications, making sure that your accounting, your financial documents are up to par, making sure that you have staff to be able to handle contracts when you get it. That's all before you bid. That's the pre-bidding phase.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any questions based on what? Now, we also have to remember, like Ravi said, HCC is a very large institution here in Houston, 70 locations. They have contracts available as well. So that's something if you want to work with universities, I always suggest starting with ISDs, independent school districts, because they are smaller in nature. They only require vendor registration. But if you are ready for the city level, getting your certification at least 6 months, at least, before you are ready to start bidding on a contract. It does take, I think it's now 6 months to a year for the certification process.
The certification averages about 6 months.
Yeah.
And so really, and consider this, not just the city, HCC, all the other government agencies accept certification. So it's not just getting certified to do business with the city. Your full thought in that pre-bid phase, before you even start bidding, is to find out what government agencies purchase what you have, right? It doesn't work the way where I have apples and I think that you should purchase my apples because I have them. It doesn't work that way. If we want apples, we will say we want apples, right? So don't come to us selling us apples and we haven't asked for that. So that's one thing to realize in that pre-bid phase, you're researching to find out what agencies purchase my products or services and how often do they purchase my products and services and what do they require in that. And so, and that research process is looking at past solicitations, because when we're going back to supply chain, you can look at those past solicitations and see, okay, if it's talking about building some residential homes and it will tell you every single thing that's required, then you can say, okay, this is going to require for me to purchase this, that, and the other from these different companies. It may be some place you have to get it from, you know, outside of the country to be able to make that your bid comes in an amount that's going to make you competitive. So when we talk about supply chain management, that pre-bid phase is doing your research and seeing what's out there, what's required, so that you can make sure that you have your ducks in a row, you have your connections with your various suppliers for you to be able to supply your product or service.
As well as if you have a new product and you do want to sell to the city of Houston or to HCC, you can reach out and inform them of your product. I've heard of instances where they've created opportunities based on if they find out there's a need. This is where last meeting we talked about relationships. This is where it's important for you to develop the relationship with the buyers of the agencies, so that if you have a new product or service, that they can be aware of it. If it's an existing, like apples, that they actually do purchase, then this is your opportunity to let them know who you are, and let them know, you know, competitive information about yourself. And it's more or less an informal conversation about you, your business, and what you can provide to their agency. That's a part of the pre-bidding process. Like I said, this is a journey. It's a process. It's not something that, you know, a lot of people, I tell, and I say this every time, I'll get a call. I want to, you know, get a federal contract tomorrow. And it's like, they'll show it to me. They're like, I want this one. I'm okay. And how many contracts have you had? And the, you know, oh no, I've just started my business. No, okay, where's your website? I don't have one. Okay, so having a website, having an email, that's boilerplate. And for any business, but the federal government, they do their research. Government agencies do their research. They want to know that you are truly in business. You're not just a fly by night, and that you're here for the long term. Can you think about, you know, if you're lending money to someone and they say, can I borrow, you know, $2,000? Where are you going to be here in 6 months? Am I going to be able to get my $2,000 back? That's sort of the thinking, or the definite thinking that the federal government or a government agency would have. Is this company going to be in business for the next, you know, 2 years of this 1 year contract, so that I make sure that I get all of my products, that it's not something that comes back onto the agency that they have to deal with. Is that some thinking? Okay, so, and you see how it fits into this cog that we have here, this of supply chain management. You have to think about all of that before you can even deliver a product. Okay. Yes.
I can share that you've got a thumbs up from Tim Jeffcoat.
Okay.
Hey, Tim.
Hi,
LinkedIn
Tim.
Live, There's 5 people on LinkedIn, there's 10 on Zoom. Folks, if you have any question from either places, put it in the chat. So far, I'm not seeing any questions. There was an issue with the mic earlier, but we fixed it.
Okay.
So your
Yes, sir.
people can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. Yes, sir.
As a small business in Houston, what are the agencies that are available? So HCC one,
Mhm.
City of Houston.
Mhm.
What are some other ones that we may not know? Does it make sense, or is it?
I mean, there's a lot of different government agencies. So, I mean, there's the ones that we typically work with are Metro, besides the ones that have already been mentioned, Metro, Port Houston, Houston First, HISDs,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So think about our society, our community, and the things that we utilize. So the streets that we drive on, the water systems that we use, all of those agencies do business with small businesses. The great way, and like Dr. Jackson just mentioned, is to think of it is, if you are wanting to get certified, there's about 5 of them, 5 agencies available right now that I'm aware of that you get certifications: City of Houston, Metro, Port of Houston, the hub certification, and I think I'm missing one.
There's
Okay.
several, but I would just say when you're talking about government agencies, like what are government agencies? Anybody, any municipality, yeah, is going to be a government agency.
Mhm. Yeah, the
Or
counties, Fort Bend
Mhm.
County, Harris County. Yes, sir.
I can also add that the city of Sugar Land has a large public works budget, right? So they also have procurement process. City of Missouri City.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every institution you can think of that has some sort of public dollar
Yeah.
tax revenue,
so like
or
colleges, universities,
they're all gonna need services.
medical center, those are government.
What type of
agencies.
business do you have?
So I own a short rental company.
Okay.
So you can think of it as mobile kitchen.
Okay.
And I've traditionally been different out to small business owners,
Mhm.
but I'm starting to move up the chain for bigger people.
So smart.
The
I love
Marriott's
that.
trying to build my food truck for 2 months.
There you go.
And I'm wondering, how can I provide that? Who would, well, you said it earlier, don't ask who it is, but so early in this, I wonder who at the city or whatever government agency would need one, especially during disaster.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I don't know how you.
So this kind of goes back to the new product or service. You know, I mean, as soon as you said that, a light bulb went off that HCC, for example, could, you know, get a truck, wrap it, and, you know, provide support. I don't know, in any of their locations instead of, reaching out. It's just, there's so many different ways that you do it. But in this instance, it's reaching out to who you want to do business with. Because I also want to impress upon you that you're a commodity as well, a valuable commodity as well. And so understanding you and your product and what you're able to provide. So who would you feel successful? Another thing that I always say is focus on 3. We just gave you a whole list of different agencies, but if you focus and find 3 that you want to do business with, or that does want your product, then that narrows down the focus. And as you grow, you can add more agencies to your, who you do business with or who you focus on. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
There was a question in the chat that says, do they have to be certified for each one of those entities like Sugarland, Missouri City, or is there one that allows them to work with all? Any guidance on certification?
You don't have to be certified to do business with any agency. The certification comes into play when there's a goal on the contracts. And so with that being said, as Jada said, as mentioned earlier, you have to do your research to find out who you want to do business with or who buys your products and services. Then you're going to see what their requirements are to do business with them. Each agency is individual, meaning there's not one, the city doesn't govern all these agencies. We only govern what the city of Houston does. HISD does their own thing, right? Harris County does their own thing. We're all separate agencies. So when you're trying to do business with the various different agencies, you have to find out what they require in order to do business with them. If they accept certifications, you have to find out what certifications do they accept. Who do they accept those certifications from? Because not every agency produces or is the certifying agency. So for instance, Harris County does not certify folks. They rely on certifications from the city of Houston, from the state, and from other agencies. So you would have to figure out what agencies do they accept the certification from and what certifications do they accept. Just as if you say, I have uniforms, I can produce uniforms for inmates. That's state, right? So you have to find out what certifications that the state accepts and who they accept them from. And off top, the state is easy. They accept HUB, that's it. So then you would have to be HUB certified. You have to go to an agency that produces HUB certifications.
There is also what's known as cooperative agreements. So if they, it's not a certifying agency, they may work with a certifying agency. So if there's a organization that you do want to provide your services with, they may, like Dr. Jackson say, accept the City of Houston certifications as, a verification of your business. And that's what certifications are. It's a verification of your business. You're submitting documents. For the City of Houston, there's a portal where you answer questions and then you upload documents about your business, about 20 of them, if not more. And then they provide you with the certification if you do all of what's required. Then that certification lasts for about 3 years, and then you can use it. Like for instance, I just did vendor registration for a painting company, and that vendor registration doesn't have certification. They don't require certification, but it asks you if you have it, so they know that you have been vetted by an organization. Okay. There are also corporations. They may ask if you are certified, because even though they're not a certifying agency, when they go after, government money, they can say, oh yes, we do business with vendors who are minority certified. Does that resonate? Okay, I had a saw a question, yes.
Hi, yeah, the question that I have is, thank you for, but is there any wisdom that you impart or any sage advice that you can give someone who is new to government contracting world? My introduction to government contracting came from, I don't know if anyone else here experienced that, well, YouTube.
Yes.
And this whole idea of middleman approach. And now that I've been attending these forums, the procurement meetings to face like that, that's not a thing.
Mhm.
Okay, so, you know, coming from having a certain skill set, you know, I come from an IT world, training, development, logistics,
Mhm.
and wanting to offer that service to a government agency.
Mhm.
I may not have 30, 40 employees in my arsenal. I might not have, you know, the ability to, you know, provide services for $250,000 contract. Like, basically, I'm asking, how does a newbie get in where it's getting?
So I think it kind of goes back to what we said earlier, is to do your research and finding out, one, what government agencies purchase your products and services. And then when we talked about being a subcontracting, that's pretty much the logical level to get into government contracting. So in order to be a subcontractor, the example given earlier was that Jada's a prime contractor. In order for her to get a contract, that has a goal on it, like minority or woman-owned business goal on it, she has to put on her solicitation bid to the city that this particular business is going to be, I'm going to subcontract the work out to them, and they are a certified firm. So with that subcontracting, that allows you to be able to do a portion of her larger $1 million contract, because you couldn't get it because you've never had a contract before. But this puts you in the place to do a smaller portion of that to build your business so that one day you're in the position to go after $1 million contract.
So subcontracting, as well as, we mentioned this a couple meetings ago, where agencies have P cards, where they have smaller projects that need to be completed by vendors, but they don't need to put it out as a solicitation or an advertisement. So that's when you develop that relationship with the buyer, with the contract manager, so that they know that your services are available and that they can reach out to you for a $5,000 contract. Also, and like I said in the beginning, you know, education teaching is what I resonate with. TTAC is a great, as well as SCORE, is a great, two great organizations. PTAC accelerators, they're Apex. They are rebranding. So PTAC is now Apex Accelerator. And they provide free workshops and webinars to speak to you about contracting with the government. They do speak on the federal level, but what we said in previous meetings is that you have to understand that anything federal level trickles down to city, state, county. So if you get the understanding on the federal level, you're going to understand everything under that. Okay, does that answer your question? Okay, perfect. Yes, sir.
Just in line with what we're talking about now, the city of Las Vegas, and I moved from Las Vegas 2 years ago, they had a limit, it was 200,000, that the city of Las Vegas would be able to email you the tender you could pay. So that those tenders were made easily accessible to smaller companies. There wouldn't be that amount of red paper and documentation requirements, because some tenders, if you just look at the tender requirements, the documentation immediately puts you off small business. So they sort of created this smaller ceiling of 200,000. And that made smaller companies be able to participate, and hopefully get work from there. Is there something like that?
So with the city of Houston, they call it e-bids. So first you have to be a registered vendor with the city. And so if you're a registered vendor with the city, anytime there's an opportunity that matches your NIGP codes, they're going to send you that information, whether that bid is 50,000 or whether that bid is 1 million. So if you're a registered vendor with the city of Houston, those opportunities that are even smaller, that will be emailed to you to say that this opportunity is available. Now, if you're in the position where you can do something that's maybe $2,000, that's not going to be emailed to you. That's going to have to be back to what Jada talked about, is having that personal relationship with that department. If somebody is looking to get the blazer that Robbie has on that says HCC, they might need to order that for a couple new members. And so it'll be them just reaching out to say, hey, can you be able to provide these new polo shirts and new blazers for members of our staff? So it's really, again, going back, you have to do the research to figure out like who would purchase, and even, and with the city, everything's on our website. So you can even look, if you go to our website, houstontx.gov/OBO reports, it'll tell you the buying of the previous year for each department that actually buys. So then you can see, so that you can understand, like if I'm going to say, I want to provide something for city council, and then you'll see that city council makes like 1 to 3 purchases per year. And it's maybe 40, maybe $50,000. So would you spend your whole time trying to make that, to woo the city council so that, you know? So it's really about doing your research and seeing, and then you can also go and see the contracts that are currently out, and that'll let you know, okay, how much this contract is worth, if there was a goal on it or not, and then who has that contract and who are they subbing that contract out to. That's how you do your research, and knowing, 1, what products or services do they buy? 2, do I provide that? 3, how often do they put those solicitations out there? 4, who's getting those contracts? 5, who are they subcontracting out that work to? Because those are the folks that you want to be networking with. So if you're like what she asked earlier, is I'm new, if you're new, where you want to be is where the prime contractors are. Because if you're saying, you know what, I don't have the capacity to bid on a large contract, but I can do a portion of it. Well, you have to be added on that bid when they submit it to the city. So the person or the persons that you want to make sure you're networking with are the people who are going out as prime contractors for the city of Houston.
And how do you know that? I mean, how do you find out who the prime contractor?
So 2 things. You're going to go to a website that's the same website that you would go to complete your certification application, and that's houston.mwddavidbboye.com. There you can put in the search engine and put in the different contracts. So if you do uniforms, you can put in uniforms. It'll bring up the different contracts that are out there for uniforms. The folks that are in bold are going to be the prime contractors. You click on there, you'll see them prime, and then you'll see if there was a goal on it, who they subcontract that work out to. So that if I'm seeing a constant name that's getting the prime, then I know wherever Jada Harris uniforms is, I need to be there because I want to be a sub the next time you go out for a contract. Second thing is Houston.mwdbbe.com.
You said a website earlier, houston.gov.ob.
The website I said earlier was houstontx.gov/OBO. But the houston.mwdbe.com, that's where you're going to go. You click on contracts database, and then that will give you what the contracts are currently out and who's the prime, who's the sub. Second thing is, even though you may be in the subcontracting arena, I'm a subcontractor. And keep in mind too, some folks can only be subcontractors. For instance, you're never going to see, it'll be rare, I should say, to see a contract that says we need 5 cranes, right? Because cranes are typically going to be a part of a construction contract. So you might not see that. So that might limit you to say, okay, well, what I provide is only something that's part of another contract, right? So that's could be subcontracting too. Either way, you would need to go to purchasing.houstontx.gov. That's the site that you're going to go to search for bids, as well as register to be a vendor, as well as to see anything related to contracting and bidding for procurement for the city of Houston. Even as a sub, you need to be checking the bids, because how do you know what's out there if you don't know what's out there? So you have to go look at the bids, even though you'll still get the email as a registered vendor. But I always tell people, technology works when it works, right? And when it doesn't, it doesn't. So just make it sure that you have at least once a week that you're checking sites of agencies that you want to work with to see what's out there. So as a sub, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the purchasing website, see what bids are out there. Now I know I'm just going to be subbing, but I got to see what's out there to say, okay, So if I find something that's in my area, I'm gonna click on that, read that. It's gonna have a pre-bid meeting. Now, when you go to the pre-bid meeting, that's where you're gonna find out who is interested in being the prime. That's your target to say, okay, now I see that Jada is there. Jada's saying she's trying to be the prime for this. I need to connect with Jada and let her know about what I can do on this contract. And again, when you show up to any meeting in regards to like a pre-bid meeting, and you know that you're going to be introducing yourself to be on a contract with somebody, come prepared. Like, read that whole solicitation before you come, because I can't come to Jada and we're at a pre-bid meeting for uniforms and I say I want to subcontract, and Jada's gonna say, doing what? And I've never read the, I don't even know what I'm subcontracting for, right? Is she gonna pick me? Probably not, but she doesn't even know what she's, subcontracting for. So you just want to make sure that you read that. So when I go to Jada, I can say, Jada, I know you're interested in being the prime contractor. I'm able to do embroidery. My embroidery services, I've done embroidery for, this church, this organization, and I see that there's an embroidery piece on this contract. I can do the embroidery for you.
And here's my business card, here's my capability statement, here's my website, all these things you're ready and prepared for. This may not be the opportunity, it may be too soon, but now they have your information for future. The pre-bid meeting, I can give you a really good example. I used to go to the before COVID, go to the pre-bid meetings as a contract manager. I met my longest client there. We shook hands, had a conversation, started doing work together. He also, a part of that pre-bid meeting, met someone else that was a prime on a project. This project came available again, and he called him up. It wasn't even that they met, again at the new pre-bid meeting. It was the prior conversation that they had that he was able to call him up. Just this last, I think it was like 2-3 weeks ago. He's like, remember that bid that we submitted last year? And we just had the conversation with him. And I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, we just got awarded as a sub. That's how it flowed. It's not something that we can put in a box of how, to systematically do it. The relationship is highly important. If I haven't learned anything in the 25 years of doing contract and grant administration, it's the relationship. So start with that. Okay. Any other questions? I do have just a couple.
I think you said last meeting you concentrated on relationship.
Yes.
And, do you have like a video of that?
We do. I believe it's on the HCC website.
YouTube.
YouTube.
When I
Yes.
search for YouTube score, an OBO, and a bunch of them will show up. And then the title will tell you what the theme was. So this one will say supply chain.
Mm-hmm. And you, I don't know if we recorded last year, if we got to that point, because we were on this topic last April, supply chain. So there may be two.
Yeah, there may be
Okay.
one from 2022 and then 23.
Yeah.
And I think half of it would have changed.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's a totally different conversation. Same
It keeps
subject,
evolving.
couple of different slides and maybe some of the same, but a new conversation for sure. Okay. All right. So if you could go to the next one. Okay. So this is actual videos discussing supply chain. Might spark a little bit more conversation.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
So is there possibly a listing of like contract managers by department, particularly for the direct purchase?
So on the solicitation, we'll list the buyer and or contract
Right.
manager.
But I'm saying this is for more or less unsolicited work.
Okay. So I believe the city of
So-
Houston does have a director.
So what I advise people to do is to go to the city's website, the general website, which is HoustonTX.gov. There's a Google search engine. Put in directors. When you put in directors, it'll bring up all the different departments for the city of Houston. You can email the directors and ask, whatever I'm going back to uniforms. If you supply uniforms, you can say, hello, my name is, Portia Jackson. I own embroideries uniforms, and wanted to see if you guys are in need of any services and who from your department would I talk to.
It does not.
It won't play? Oh, man. Oh, well.
But I, as always, and I'm a researcher, so maybe that's why I'm always telling people to research, because to me that just makes sense. But I would not send an email to somebody without knowing what they need or somewhat of what they need, right? Because my whole thing when you do research is because you want a response. And so the easiest way to get a response is if I'm able to connect with you on something that you need and not something that's just so general. So you can always go to the different websites and kind of get an idea of what that particular department may need, and you can judge for yourself and say, yeah, I think what they do, I have something that will resonate with them. So then that way, when you send the email, then you can really target and make an ask so that it's more that you will get a response instead of someone reading it and saying, I don't know what they're asking me. If I don't know what you're asking me, I don't even know how to respond to you. Right?
Their needs, when you've identified their need, address their pain points, even if they haven't told you. If you have an embroidery business, you know what some pain points are in as far as providing uniforms. And so if you have identified the need, just speak on what you're able to do in addressing pain points within the industry, and that should get their attention. Yeah,
but make that email short.
Yeah,
Please
very
don't
short.
send long emails.
email and then follow up with a phone call.
I would ask for a meeting.
Yeah.
Or the person I can contact.
Yeah.
And then you talk to that person and go more into detail. But keep that first email very short but powerful and saying, this is what I'm looking for because I provide this. Who do I speak to?
And this has everything to do with your CRM, your customer relationship management system, and plugging that into, follow up. Send out that email, ask for the meeting, follow up with a phone call, another phone call, until you get your yes. You're going to get some no's, but you'll get a yes. Lots of no's. Lots of no's. I can't remember I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. We got 3 minutes till 2 o'clock, which ends our meeting. So I just want to address some of the disruption within supply chain. So when I talk about some of the pain points, these are some of the things that you can address within the need that you've identified. The increased pricing, inflation right now, right? Bottlenecks within the system itself, product delays, and then as well as consumer demand. Consumer demand was massive during COVID, not just for the need of the product and or service, but also people were home and they just didn't know what else to do with their time but to order stuff. So consumer demand can be a need or a want. So it's just some things to think about as it relates to supply chain contract management. I hope that we've answered the questions that you've had today. Yes.
I just want to say, I think is it safe to say from what Portia is really keep elaborating about the research and you talk about pre-bidding process, that it's kind of wise now to add on that supply chain, even someone on your team actually, that's their job is really looking into all of that, because just when you say a bid that was put out there again, it could have been because the cookie lady didn't have the packages to put the cookies in. So when that bid is put out there again, you may be happy to bid on it, but you don't know the challenges that it's a supply chain. I mean, it's a supply chain issue with plastic or building a building with the
cranes,
the cranes and the cranes of steel going up. And so I think that I guess it's just why that supply chain piece is evolving.
Yeah, absolutely. So what a part of my business is instituting contract management workflows and systems within small businesses, because you're absolutely right. It's a full-time job. I'm just going to put it out there. It's you running your business, you do have to take a step back and then create this workflow, this process within your business in order to adopt this very lucrative opportunity into your revenue stream. And so, yes, hiring an administrative assistant where but a part of what they do is researching what contracts are available. That's why I suggested selecting 3 agencies, because if one agency is not offering it right now, then another agency could. And so you're constantly having that in your processes to check on those agencies. And if one does become available, then you're able to answer the bid, you know, as quickly as possible because you're ready and you have the staff to support it. All right. So we thank you for attending both in person and online. Our contact information is on the screen. So please feel free to reach out to us with additional questions. Like Ravi stated, all of these presentations are on YouTube so that you can go back to them and find more information. We had a really good workshop in February about bookkeeping. We're going to piggyback off of that later on this year as far as financial reports and systems that help you manage your contracts. So please circle back. Thank you.
And then for those in the room, I really encourage people, anytime you go to a workshop, even if you're online, make sure you network with the folks in the room, because you never know who can help you with the business, especially, and I'm not going to tell you who, but there's somebody in this room that actually does shipping. So if you're looking to get your products out there, wouldn't it be good to connect with somebody who actually can help you with shipping? So I'm not going to say who that is.
Oh, well, there's 2 in the room. There's 2 in the room. 18-wheelers. So yes, please network, share cards, information. Thank you.